I recently had a musician friend message me and ask, how'd you get that current road gig you're on? And instead of messaging him back, I meant to make a video, which I've kind of put off for a second, but I'm just going to make it now. And this is how I got the current road gig that I'm on. And it all essentially boils down to my policy of saying yes to everything while I can. And that policy is really what it sounds like. If I'm not busy and someone offers me a gig, I say yes. And I'll ask the details later, which is wildly different than my approach from when I was younger because I wanted to be compensated properly. I wanted to be paid, treated, respected. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. However, when I'm in a new scene and I'm trying to build a name for myself and build a network, I kind of have to really work my way in and network. And how I networked to get this gig, I can literally trace my path from it. And I saw somebody about a couple months ago was posting on Facebook they needed a drummer for a Friday 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. gig. I think I messaged them on a Wednesday or a Thursday and said, hey, I can do it. And I guess this person saw me and saw that I was active on social media, maybe posting my videos. And he said, cool, you're in. And it just so happened that that night I was doing a little jam session. There's a studio that I frequently record at in town, and I have a good relationship with the owner and the engineer of that studio. And he said I could invite who I wanted to help kind of make more the merrier. So this person that I didn't know, but I was playing a gig with him, I said, oh, by the way, I'm going to be at this recording studio tonight. If you want to roll by, we're having a little kind of informal get-together, a jam session. I didn't expect this person to stop by, but lo and behold, they did. I didn't even know who they were when they showed up. But we hung out, we played a couple tunes, and then the next morning I went and played that gig with him. And the gig is maybe a gig not everybody would take because it doesn't pay that well. The tips weren't that great. Not that great of exposure, but you know what? I was meeting some cool people, and I really liked playing with him. And I thought he was a cool musician, a cool person, and it went well. The pay wasn't great, but he said, hey, would you like to do this again? And I said, absolutely, because I liked playing with him and I liked his music. The next time I played with him, he had another bassist on the gig. And on that gig, that bassist asked me for my number because he says he knows some people that are looking for subs every now and again. So I gave the bassist my number. And it was another low-paying gig, things that I used to care about, but I don't really care about now. And so after that gig, he contacted me for another unlucrative gig. I think it was another 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. gig that probably wouldn't have a lot of tips or attendance. But I played with him and it was great. And there was a guitarist on that gig and she was great as well. And she got my information and she says, hey, are you free for a couple road dates in the future? I said, yeah, sure. And she never messaged me back, so I messaged her a couple more times. And then she asked me to play a few gigs with her. And then a few more gigs turned into a few more gigs, and I've just been playing more and more regularly with her. And those gigs have been paying better, and I've been making some money. Again, I make more money when I'm in town, but that's a whole nother conversation. But really, I'm just kind of working my way up through the scene, connecting musicians, building out my network. There's no magic answer here. And I like this gig. It is not my final destination. I'm playing this gig for another couple weeks, and then I'm going on another run where I'm probably going to be with an artist for I think about 5 to 6 weeks, going pretty much east to west coast. And yeah, it's just, I view it as like planting seeds. Whereas I'm talking about these low paying gigs or like this gig where it's like, oh, I know nothing's going to happen right away, but it might lead to something else. And I illustrated it in a fairly like simple ABCD step, but really it's from like A to Z 20 times over. I've taken so many $50 gigs that I play 4 hours and I make barely anything in tips that I'm probably making less than minimum wage. I've played in so many weird situations. I realize that a lot of gigs that I'm saying yes to with my say yes to everything policy probably going to lead to nowhere. But I kind of have to wade through all of those because maybe someone on that gig that's not worth my time can lead me to somebody else on another gig that can lead me to somebody else that eventually leads to maybe something that's paying okay or giving me a little bit more exposure. And I realize that 80% of the time, the gigs I'm on, when I'm saying yes to everything, it's just going to be a dud. It's like planting a seed that never sprouts any crops. However, like if I'm just doing this volume, eventually something's going to sprout something. The more people I know, the better. And also, every gig I show up to, I treat it like it's the Super Bowl. I want to know like the tempo, the count off, the form, even if there's going to be nobody there, even if it's, with people that other musicians may not take seriously, I'm just going to do my best every time I show up. So how I got my gig is just saying yes to everything, showing up prepared, being patient, realizing that a lot of the things that I say yes to may be frustrating in terms of finances, time, energy invested. But eventually, if I keep on grinding, I'm going to meet some people. And while I'm grinding, I'm trying to stay as positive as I can. I'm trying to stay as agreeable as I can, work with as many people as I can, not sweating the small stuff. Yeah, it's really, I view it as a marathon. Whereas you just have to keep on putting mile after mile in and not necessarily worrying about like every single moment, but saying this is just a long time, a long investment, both in the training and the race itself. And I just have to be patient and consistent. And sometimes it can be taxing, but if you're consistent with the work, I think it pays off. So that's how I got my gig. Hope that answers your question. And if you like what I'm saying, if you think what I'm saying is valuable to you, if it's helpful, please like, subscribe, comments, even suggest a sign off for me because I'm still working on that. Good luck getting those gigs out there.